And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Jones versus Stegall. Step forward, please.
18-year-old waitress Bonnie Jones is suing her ex-boyfriend, 20-year-old tile installer Thomas Stegall, for writing checks from a shared account after they broke up.
Ms. Jones, Mr. Stegall was your boyfriend.
Yes.
While you were together, you made the monumental mistake of having a joint bank account with him.
Yes.
It was probably a mistake for both of you, but certainly since you're on that side of the table, it was a bigger mistake for you. According to your complaint, at the time you broke up, you left some of the checks in the apartment or in the house where you were living.
Yes.
Mr. Stegall found those checks because he had not been writing checks on the account you had. And over the next month, he wrote a series of checks. The bounced fees, et cetera, came to about $600. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And there's no question, these were all his checks, his withdrawals, after you broke up. Is that right?
Yep.
Now, I think, Mr. Stegall, you acknowledge that all of these checks were written after you broke up. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
So now, I would like you to tell me, and at the same time you're going to tell Bird, your defense.
Well, at the time we broke up, she was controlling the checking account. I gave all my money, my paychecks to her, and she deposited it. When we split up, I hadn't been using the checkbook. I wasn't allowed to. So when she left, I figured there was still money in there for me to use. I didn't know.
Do you know how to use a telephone?
I didn't know where she was.
You know where your bank was.
Yes, ma'am.
Would it ever dawn on you to go into the bank and find out if there was any money left in that account?
It didn't occur to me, no, ma'am.
Okay, so continue. Bird's still listening.
Well, basically, I found the checkbook, and I decided that, well, I really wasn't thinking straight at the time, I guess you could say. I needed a few things, or wanted a few things, and I ended up writing a few checks that turned out to bounce. And she's called me quite a few times since then to let me know, and I told her I'd do the best I can to work on it, but I just got employed again, just getting stuff straightened out.
Would you tell me what your defense is?
I had no idea there wasn't any money in the account. I thought that my money was still in there.
So if you knew that there was no money in the account, you wouldn't have written these checks. Is that what you're telling me?
Yes, ma'am.
So then you owe her the money, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Isn't this easy? Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $606. That's it.
Thank you.
Excuse me. Yeah, this is case number 128 on the calendar in the matter of Cassidy versus Graves. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ladies, have seats. You're welcome.
Bird, this is another one of those cases of Dumb and Dumber, and Mama gets to pay the bill.
Ooh.
Which one is your daughter?
Erin.
That's dumb. Dumber. Miss Cassidy made the mistake of letting her daughter borrow her car. Her daughter went to a party and got blotto drunk. So far correct, Miss Cassidy?
Pretty accurate.
Somehow or another, Mr. Graves over here, dumber, got the car and wrecked it. Mr. Graves' defense, while he acknowledges that he went over a curb or a building, is that right, sir? You're not exactly sure.
Technically.
Thereby damaging the car, has a novel defense. So we have agreed on a certain state of facts. Miss Cassidy, the mother, owner of the car, daughter whose name is?
Erin Cassidy.
Drunk, blotto, laid out. He takes the car. Now we're going to hear his defense. We can't wait.
All right, well, we're at a party at my friend's house, and Erin asked me to go pick up an errand for her. And
Pick up what?
Pick up an errand.
Pick up an errand.
Yeah.
Is that heavy?
No. No, it's not.
Erin asked you to what?
To drive her car to go pick up an errand for her.
To go pick up an errand. Could you
Yes.
describe what an errand is, sir? Because Bird and I don't understand what an errand is. Is that bigger than a bread box, smaller than a bread box? What does it do? What does an errand do?
It's an illegal substance.
An errand is called an illegal substance.
No,
Bird,
that's what I went to
have
go
you
pick up.
ever heard an illegal substance called an errand?
Not in this lifetime.
Not in this lifetime. And having been around family courts and the court system for a long time, we would have heard, I mean, we've heard of a lot of things, but we've never heard of an illegal substance called an errand. We're going to start again, Mr. Graves.
Okay.
You were at a party, and Erin asked you to what?
To go pick up some cocaine for her.
Okay. Did she give you any money? I would like you to look in my eyes when you speak to me.
All right. She tried to give me some money, but she couldn't find her wallet because she was too drunk. And so we went looking for her wallet, and I found it outside in the front, or next to the front door. So.
Look at my eyes.
Sorry.
So you took money out of her wallet, or you brought the wallet back to her?
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh, what? Uh-huh is not an answer.
Yes.
You see what I mean, Dumb and Dumber?
Dumb and Dumberer.
Dumb and Dumberer. Uh-huh is not an answer. Either you took the money out of her wallet, or you brought the wallet back to her for her to take the money out of it, and uh-huh is not an answer. Column A or column B? Which one was it?
Took the wallet to her.
And she took the money out.
No, she said to look in it and take the money.
And how much money did you take out?
Just 20 bucks.
20 bucks. And where did you go to purchase this cocaine for Aaron with the 20 bucks?
From a friend of mine.
Friend of yours?
Yeah, well, a friend of ours.
A mutual friend? The person's name?
I can't give that.
Oh, yes, you can.
All right.
You're here in court. I'm asking you a question. I have to decide whether or not you're telling me the truth. The person's name?
Justin?
Justin what?
I don't know. I don't want to give it to you. Sorry.
Now, you're in the car on your way with the 20 bucks to buy cocaine for Erin, who was drunk. So drunk she couldn't even find her own wallet. And what happened with the car, Mr. Graves?
Well, I was turning to a left-hand turn lane, and I got a glare in my eye.
What time was it?
I think 11 or so.
At
11,
night?
Yes.
Was it a sun glare?
No, it was from a light, because I wear contacts.
It was from what light? Because you wear...
The street light. Like, you know, the light that's red, green, signal light. And
So because you wear contact lenses, it affects your light in a way different from the way it affects normal people.
No, not necessarily. I don't know how normal people see because I'm not a normal seer.
You're not normal, is what you're saying. Is that what you're trying to tell me?
No, I'm not trying to say that.
You were blinded by the light. And what happened?
Well, I drive a truck, so I'm not used to her quick handling, and sorry.
You got blinded by the light. And what happened?
And I was turning to the left-hand turn lane, and there's an island there. And I went up the curb onto the island.
Thereby damaging the
rims.
Then you went and bought the cocaine.
Yes.
And you brought it back to the house.
Yes.
And what did you do with it?
Well, I went to go find Erin, but she was passed out on my friend's bed.
And?
And so then I just gave it to someone else.
You gave Erin's cocaine to somebody else?
Well, someone else was purchasing some too at the same time.
You mean you drove somebody else also to your friend Justin's house to buy the cocaine?
Yes.
Is that what you're telling me?
Yes.
Well, how many purchasers... Bert. This is very serious business. This is the future of our country here that's standing here.
Merely cleaning my
This is the
glasses.
future of America. How many purchasers were in the car altogether, Mr. Graves?
None of them were purchasers.
Well,
But
there
they were
was
just-
you.
I wasn't purchasing.
Sure, you were purchasing.
I was purchasing it for other people.
You were an
Yes.
errand.
Yes.
Sorry, he was an errand. And then there was at least one other person who you also said was in the car also purchasing, right?
No. No other person in the car was purchasing besides me.
I thought you said somebody else in the house. You gave
Well,
it to...
I brought two people with me, but they weren't purchasing any. They were just going along for the ride.
So you gave it to...
The person that was back at the house.
Just because they were... Was it their birthday or anything?
Not that I know of.
Was it a bar mitzvah present?
No.
Just because you were a nice guy? Because you don't do any cocaine?
No, not anymore. Not anymore.
I don't mean now, I mean then.
Yeah, I did.
Party time. So you just gave away the cocaine. Didn't want to use any of it yourself that night. Didn't want to save any for later.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You know what makes me doubt what he said? The fact that when he came back, and because she was sleeping, he gave the cocaine away.
And later today,
I'm not happy, you're not happy, let's call this quits. And he then crossed the double yellow line in my car and started driving towards oncoming traffic full force.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Kathy Cassidy says her daughter's former friend, Colin Graves, damaged her BMW when he drove it over a curb. Colin says Kathy's daughter asked him to go buy cocaine.
How much did it cost you to fix this car, Miss Cassidy?
$25, $34, $95 or something.
Do you have any proof of that?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to see it, please. Where's the car now, Miss Cassidy?
It's in my possession.
Did you give her the car back?
Well, she still uses it on occasion, but the story of what happened isn't exactly as...
I don't necessarily buy everything that he says.
Right.
You know what makes me doubt what he said? The fact that when he came back and because she was sleeping, he gave the cocaine away.
Yeah.
I tried to wake her up.
That's not what I'm
sure
talking
he did.
about. That he gave it away because he didn't want to use it himself, you know, even though then he was using cocaine occasionally, he didn't want to use it, so he just
Right.
gave it to a friend.
Right. That's very kind.
Do you understand? Isn't
Yeah.
that kind?
Yeah.
Kind. So I'm sure somewhere in the middle of what your daughter told you and what Mr. Future of America told me lies the truth.
Yes.
It really is irrelevant.
Yeah.
She was irresponsible.
Yes, she was.
She drove a car and she got drunk. He acknowledges that she was drunk, so that he should not have taken her car, because if she was drunk, she was in no position to give advised consent to him taking the car.
Yes, Your Honor.
And therefore, he should not have taken it, whether he was doing errand for her
Yeah.
or not, or doing errand for somebody else, or just being a jerk. He should not have taken the car because she was drunk. And I don't think you have to suffer for that. I just wanted to make sure that you knew that your daughter did the wrong thing by taking your car and putting herself in a position
Right.
where
I
she wasn't totally
agree.
together.
And
Okay.
she agrees. She
Good.
understands.
Absolutely fine. In any event, Mr. Graves was driving the car. Unfortunately for him, he was blinded by whatever light it was. Maybe it was a shooting star. He owes you $25.34. That's $2,534. Judgment for the plaintiff. Thank you very much. Goodbye, and I wish us all luck.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Party's excused. You may step out.
I did not ask for drugs that night, and I did not tell him to go take my car to do drugs. In fact, he was the one that did the drugs, so.
She was coherent at the time when I asked her for her keys,
I was never asked. That's not the truth.
and Alicia was inside the room with me when I got the keys from her.
So that was the first lie.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Pike versus Pedersen, step forward, please.
Landscaper Richard Pike is suing ex-girlfriend, loan consultant Tanya Pedersen, for breaking a lease when he suddenly moved out. Tanya says Richard told her he wanted to be single again.
Mr. Pike, the defendant was your girlfriend. According to your complaint, you lived together someplace else, and you've been together for a while, and you came down to
San Diego.
San Diego and took an apartment together, along with a third roommate. Is this the third roommate?
Yes, Your Honor, it is.
Good. You signed a lease, all three of you, and you moved in February of this
Correct.
year. And according to you, a month later, the defendant moved out.
Yes.
And you want her to be responsible for her third share of the remainder of the lease, right?
That's correct.
Plus, you want her to pay for half the amount that you believe she owes on a credit card that's in your name because you used it to pay joint bills.
Correct, Your Honor.
Ms. Peterson says that you made it unsafe for her to live there and that she doesn't owe you anything on the credit card. She paid as she went. And she says, how dare you sue her for any money when you used her car and her gas and her insurance on the car for almost a year without giving her any money.
That's correct.
The lease was signed January 1st or starting February 1st?
February 5th, I believe it was.
How many bedrooms are in the apartment?
2 bedrooms.
You were sharing one with Miss Peterson.
Correct.
And
Joseph.
Joseph had his own bedroom. So how much rent was Joseph paying?
$650 a month, I believe it was, and we were paying $670.
Are you all still living there? Is that right?
Joseph and I, yes.
You going to continue to stay there?
Yes, Your Honor.
You don't want anybody else sharing your room with you, do you?
Not at this particular moment, no.
Then why are you bothering her about the rent?
Because we moved in with an agreement that we had planned all this, and if she had, not wanted to live there, then she shouldn't have moved in the first place. And
Well, let's go back a second. She moved out on what date?
approximately March 8th.
March 5th, Your Honor.
And did you pay March's rent?
Yes, I did.
What about April? Did you give money in April?
No, I did not.
According
That's
to,
incorrect, Your Honor. She
according-
paid me for April rent.
Okay.
You paid for April rent. See that? How did she give you April's rent?
Reluctantly,
No, how did she give it to you?
in a check, form of a cashier's check made out to the landlord.
Now, Miss Peterson, you want to tell me why you moved out?
Yes, on the morning of March 5th, on the way to work, we had been sharing my car, and he was driving me to work. He was venting to me about wanting to be single, about feeling
What did
like
he, no, I want you to tell me what he said.
Okay, he basically said he wanted to be single. And
And
he
you
just-
said why?
He said that I was inadequate, pretty much.
And Mr. Pike, you remember that conversation?
But I didn't tell her she was inadequate.
What did you tell her?
I told her that, I was frustrated with the way things were going as far as, like, me doing all the cleaning and upkeep on all the things and the bills and worrying about the bills. And wasn't being, I was just being figurative when I said that. I wasn't being literal. Just something I said off the top of my head.
That'll teach you. So you told...
So on the way, he dropped me off. I let it go. He picked me up from work, and I said, well, I want to finish this conversation. I agree with you. I'm not happy. You're not happy. Let's call this quits. And he said, well, why aren't you happy? I said, there's lots of reasons. And he then crossed the double yellow line in my car and started driving towards oncoming traffic full force.
That's incorrect, Your Honor.
Go ahead. We're coming towards oncoming traffic, and he peels into a parking lot, slams on the brakes, yelling profanities at me, jumps out of the car, slams the door, walks away. I was standing there shaking, about 5 minutes.
So you had a big fight?
Yes, and I left, drove away, got my stuff, and left. And left.
Okay. Does the fight sound familiar to you? That
Half of it does. I was stranded out where I was left, and then my roommate came to pick me up.
So you remember
later on.
having this big fight?
Right.
Mr. Pike, if I find that it's not a good idea for the two of you to live together, which I do, you're not happy with her, she's not happy with you, you're certainly not going to share a room together for the next 10 months. You have to do, or she has to do, what we call mitigating the damages, which means reducing any damages that there might be. So you can do either one of three things, Mr. Pike. You can either pay it yourself with Joseph, and the two of you live there together. That's one choice. You can, at this date, find a new roommate to share your room with you, your bigger room. That's your second choice. The third choice is to have Miss Peterson find you a roommate. She might be able to do that. You might not like it. But that would also mitigate your damages. So you want to tell me what's your pleasure?
According to the choices, let's see.
One from column A, one from B. Or is it door C?
But there's no room for someone to move in there. When I have another guy move in there like we're in college, you know? I mean, I'm 30 years old. And she signed a lease. Why did she sign a lease if she didn't want to live there?
Because, Mr. Pike, when she signed the lease, it was anticipated by both of you that you would be able to share a room together and live as a couple.
We did for a year and a half before that in Seattle.
Pay careful attention to me, sir. That didn't work out. And based upon what I heard, it didn't work out by mutual agreement. You weren't happy, and you let her know that. She wasn't happy. Then there was a flare-up, and I find that it is not in the best interest of the community for the two of you to be forced to live together. Therefore, in contract law, you have to do what's necessary to mitigate your damages. She's not moving in with Joseph because he's your friend. You want to stay there with him alone, pay your rent. You want her to find you a roommate? I'll order that she put ads in the newspaper, select somebody. You never can tell, you may get a roommate that looks like her. Go ahead.
I'll take choice A on that one.
That you and Joseph will stay together. I
Right.
sort of thought that you would. Now, you want to go into this credit card with me, sir?
She couldn't get a credit card because of her current credit status, so I filed for a credit card, got one, and we used it just for groceries, living expenses. It was always agreed upon. You know, she'd always promised to pay half of it.
Now I'll hear your end of it.
Yes. The whole time that we were together, I used my debit card for food purchases, gas purchases, car purchases, insurance. He was using my car for a year. The total amount of expenses that were incurred for both of us over the last 12 months is over $10,000.
Show me.
Then, Your Honor, that's incorrect because I sold my truck August of 2002 for us to have money to move down here. And so I only used her car in Seattle for like 2 months.
I'm looking at her debits. I want to see her debits since while you were living together.
And you can note on there. Oh.
Shh. And I want to see the final bill as of March 5th. Well, it seems she had a bank balance and she had money that she was taking out pretty regularly. Larger
I used my
item.
debit card as well as the credit card, too. I mean, I had a debit card as well.
Show me.
I didn't bring my own, brought the credit card statements with me.
Well, did you work?
Yes, Your Honor.
Did she work?
Yes, when we moved down here, neither one of us were working, and we were using the credit card to live on.
Can I? That's inaccurate.
Well, she's got some items here where she went grocery shopping and used her debit card, sir. If she went shopping for food and she spent $42 for food, and then you went the next time and used your credit card, do you expect any judge to sit there and figure out the difference and who owes who what? That's what happens when you live together. We do not have a court system in place for people who almost have a commitment to each other. It just doesn't work that way, Mr. Pike. Get over it. Hope you and Joseph are very happy together. Take your bills and pay them. Goodbye.
Yeah, this is case number 151 on the calendar in the matter of Espinosa versus Ruiz. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have seats, please.
Ms. Espinosa, according to what I read, you and the defendant were in a long-term relationship, and you have a child together. How old is your child?
She's going to be 6 on Sunday.
And you lived together for a period of time?
Yeah.
You claim that he owes you his portion of a credit card bill.
Mm-hmm.
He has some of your personal property from when the two of you separated, and that was almost a year ago.
Yeah.
You also won a whole bunch of money for emotional distress.
Mm-hmm.
It was a year ago, September. that you separated, is that right?
It was a while, like in December.
December 2001.
You separated in December of 2001.
I tried to hold on, and I did things for her.
You separated in December of 2001. When was this credit card bill amassed?
I got it back in '99 when we were together, and I didn't use it for a while, maybe almost a year, and then we were short of money because...
Miss Espinoza, let me cut to the chase, madam. Were all of the bills on the credit card amassed by December of 2001?
Yes.
We are now in 2003. So what I want you to tell me is, where have you been for 2 years?
I've been asking him to help me pay it, and he's been agreeing to help me pay it also.
But he hasn't for 2 years, is that right?
That's right.
Now, tell me about the property that you left behind, Miss Espinoza.
When I was going to leave him, he did not want me to leave, so he held me down on the bed and told me I was never going to leave him and that it was never going to happen. I then told him I had to convince him to let me leave. He then tried to tell me that I could leave, but without my daughter. If I took my stuff, I couldn't take my daughter. So I decided to try to convince him that I was going to come back, but I just needed some space. I needed some time to get everything that I wanted to do in my life together, because I wasn't.
Good. All right, now I'm getting into this sounds like a soap opera, and I'm not interested in a soap opera. What property did you leave behind?
I had shoes I hadn't even worn. I had all my clothes there. I had all my my schooling papers. I had a lot of pictures of me and my family, of my daughter that I had.
So you're talking about shoes and pictures and papers?
And I also had a lot of stuff, sentimental value stuff that my mom had given to me because she's passed on.
Ms. Espinoza, what do you want back after 2 years, madam?
Well, I know he doesn't have none of my stuff.
So if he doesn't have any of your stuff, what do you want me to do?
I just want something in return for it because I feel that all this stuff to me was taken away from me.
And you should, was taken away, try taken away. Then you should have pursued this case in 2001.
I know,
I don't know what you wait for 2 years for and then say, well, I can't get my papers back and I can't get my pictures back, but I want him to financially compensate me.
Because I was trying to be a nice person. And
then why are you bothering the courts now?
Because he has not been nice to me at all, and I feel like...
He hasn't been nice to you because that's what happens when people separate. Sometimes they're not nice to each other. Now, I'm giving you 30 seconds about your emotional distress. You got 30 seconds to tell me about your emotional distress.
When I first met him, I was 16, he was 22. We met each other, and we got together, and I got pregnant, like, almost immediately. When I first
and whose fault was that?
It was both of our faults.
Good. So,
yeah.
Let's go.
And when I told him that I was pregnant, he told me no, he didn't care, he didn't want nothing to do with me. And
is that the emotional distress you're talking about? Well, get to the emotional distress you're talking about, Miss Espinoza.
For 6 years, he put me through everything. I was not allowed to have friends. I wasn't allowed to get a job. I wasn't allowed to basically walk out of the house unless I asked him for permission.
So, how do you think the courts compensate one for that?
I've just been through so much. I haven't been able to do nothing.
So, whose fault is that?
It's my fault. That's
good. Perfect. That's taken care of. It's your fault. It's your fault because just as you walked in the door, you walk out of the door.
Exactly. That's why I'm here right now. Because I don't want to let him get away with this. He's gotten away with a lot of things.
Miss Espinoza, I don't know what you're fabricating in your mind. What do you mean, let him get away with what?
With taking my property and not being able to pay for it. I didn't take nothing of his.
Listen to me. If in December of 2001 you went into small claims court or you went to the police and said, I have to get back into my apartment because I have my clothes and my shoes there and my pictures, they would have taken you. You would have gotten your shoes, you would have gotten your pictures, you would have gotten your papers, finished. You cannot wait 2 years and say to somebody, now after 2 years, I want to be compensated because I know you don't have my pictures and papers anymore, but because I didn't pursue my rights immediately, now you have to pay the consequences. Do you understand? There comes a time when you have to take responsibility for yourself.
Yes, I understand that.
Good. Now, Mr. Ruiz says that he left you an engagement ring. Is that true?
No. I lost it when we were together.
That's what she says. I don't believe nothing what she told me in the past.
He was with me when I lost it.
Well, tell me where you lost it.
He was taking me to work. I had it on my lap while I was putting lotion on. When I got out of the car, I forgot that I had it on my lap.
When was it?
It was after we separated, maybe like 5 months after we separated.
So you lost it after you separated?
Yes.
Why didn't you give it back to him when you separated?
He proposed to me after I left him, and I told him I didn't want it. I told him to keep it until I said yes. He told me no, to keep it even if I said no.
Is that right?
No, that's not true, Your Honor.
That doesn't sound right to me. Did you ask for it back?
The thing is, she just led me on. We're going to be together, and that's it. She just used me, pretty much. You know, if she didn't really want it.
So the answer is you did not ask for it back?
Yeah, I told her after we split up, yes, I want it back.
When did you tell her you wanted it back?
I probably told her this, probably like in November. I want whatever.
November of what?
2002.
So a year later.
Like I said, she spent time, she stayed with me here and there, but it was just being...
So in November you said you wanted the ring back?
Yeah. She said she lost it. You know, like I said, I don't believe nothing.
She said she lost it?
Yeah, that's what she said. I don't know what she did with it.
Can I see the credit card bill that you had from December 2001? Mr. Ruiz says that the reason you are pursuing this now is because you recently lost a custody case involving your daughter. Is that true?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Stop being a victim. Be a grown-up. You have a 6-year-old child.
Your Honor, every time we go to court, she doesn't have her story straight.
I have a story straight.
And later today...
Did anything happen before the engine seized?
The oil light came on, possibly. I didn't see it. I wasn't driving.
Colleen, let's not play games with each other so that way you won't be embarrassed.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Lisa Espinoza says ex-boyfriend Juan Ruiz owes for credit card bills, the return of property, and emotional distress. Juan says Lisa still has the engagement ring.
Listen to me, Miss Espinoza. I want you to tell me about the custody case.
In this past year, I filed for child custody and for child support because he wasn't helping me financially. I was working 65 hours a week.
Just a second. Where was the baby staying?
With me the whole time.
All the time?
Yes.
Not spending time with her father?
She would once in a while when we would go see him. Only when we were together, but he didn't have her by herself.
Then you had a hearing before a judge?
Yes.
What was the outcome of the hearing before the family court judge?
The judge told me that I worked too much, that because...
Can I see a copy of the order? Do you have a copy of the custody
order? I just
order?
had the mediation. What was agreed on?
What you agreed on?
It was originally ordered I had my daughter 60-40, 4 days and her 3 days. But she was crying and everything, and, you know, I wanted to do this for my daughter, so I agreed to give her 50% of time in mediation.
Let me see. Was the original order 60-40? That he had the child 4 days a week and you had the child 3 days a week?
Because of my...
I don't care what it was before. I'm asking you. I can't go into what it was because of. What I'm asking you is, was that the original order?
Yes, it was.
So he had the child 60%, you had 40%, and then you went to mediation that was just resolved. And the parties shared joint legal and physical custody. So now you each have the child 50% of the time. Is that what you wanted?
No, that's not what I wanted.
Well, that's why Mr. Ruiz says that you're pursuing these matters after 2 years.
The reason why I'm pursuing this case is because the judge told me that we weren't married, so I wasn't able to get none of my belongings back.
I'm not interested in your belongings. Do you understand? And don't tell me that you couldn't have gotten any of your belongings out. You could have gotten your belongings out with a police officer. If the shoes didn't fit him, the police would have given you your shoes back. Do you understand?
Your Honor.
And if you had personal papers, the police would have given you your personal papers back if you went back into the house. You chose not to do that 2 years ago.
No, because I didn't want my daughter seeing the cops doing nothing to him. There's plenty of times that the cops that came to the house when he threw me around.
Listen to me very carefully. I don't believe what you're saying to me. Because from December 2001, when you say you left, up until 2002 in November, according to both of you, you did sort of see each other off and on.
And that's why I left him for sure.
So that you could have gotten your shoes and your personal papers. You had plenty of time to do that. Stop being a victim. Okay? Be a grown-up. You have a 6-year-old child.
Your Honor, she said that she had emotional distress and pain and suffering since 2002. Every time we go to court, she doesn't have her story straight.
I have her story straight. Tell me about the ring that you gave her, Mr. Ruiz.
Yes.
Tell me when you gave it to her. Under what circumstances?
I gave it to her on Christmas Eve, I believe.
What year?
2001.
You said you broke up Christmas 2001.
Yeah, we did.
So how come you gave her the ring Christmas Eve?
Well, I don't know. I was dumb. I was, straight up.
Well, what did you say to her when you gave her the ring Christmas Eve 2001?
I asked her to marry me.
And what did she say to you?
She said yes. She goes, right now I need some space because her mom was sick, this and that. Okay, whatever. She said, but she does want to marry me. That's what she told me.
What did you use this credit card for?
Every time we needed money together, we would just pull it out of the ATM, just money straight out.
So you used it for joint bills?
Yes.
Good. I want you to tell me about the agreement that he made, if any, to pay you back for this. Did he say he was going to pay you back, and when?
Yes, he told me all the time.
Tell me when he agreed to pay you back.
Right when before we'd go get the money out, he would tell me that he was going to pay it off because I was not allowed to work, I was not allowed to get a job, so there was no way for me to pay it.
I don't believe you. I don't believe you that if you're living together and you have a child, that each time you would go and get money out of an ATM, he would say to you, I am going to pay back this amount because you're not working, because I don't want you to work, and I'm working, so each time we go, I'm going to pay you back.
Yes, he did say that.
I don't believe you, Miss Espinoza.
I'm telling the truth. I know I was right there, and that's what he was.
I don't believe you. In any event, I suggest you go find the engagement ring and sell it. Maybe that'll help pay off the bill. Listen to me, madam. You have to put a period. Just because one lawsuit didn't turn out the way you wanted it to 2 years later. I don't buy it, Ms. Espinosa. I'm sorry. Your case is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
He's just very controlling. He's very manipulating.
I'm happy.
For 6 years, I was 16. I didn't know what I was doing.
All I gotta do is tell the truth, and this is what happens.
He started throwing me around. He slammed my leg in the door.
You know, I pushed her around before, but I never hit her or nothing like that.
Socked me. I hope he gets what he deserves.
I just hope she leaves me alone and go on with her way, and that's it.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Pappas versus Aldern. Step forward, please.
Mortgage broker Corliss Pappas is suing her daughter's former friend, 19-year-old student Kelly Aldern, for the cost of a new car engine. Corliss says Kelly drove the car with the oil light on.
Ms. Pappas, you are the owner of an automobile. I assume this is your daughter.
Correct.
Your daughter goes to college? And she, without asking your permission, loaned your car to the defendant and this young lady for the purposes of making a trip, a long trip, 700 miles. The car broke down on the way home from the trip, and